So when you would ask my kids, what does Michael do and what does your dad do in school? He said, he's a pilot. Try and build your own little machine. I stopped being afraid of asking questions to people I don't know. I'm fundamentally extremely social.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Sound of Sales. I am Bram, your host, and today I have the great Michael Humblet on the show. Enjoy! A lot of people know who you are. Let's not get that wrong. But
Hang on. World famous in Belgium.
world famous in Belgium. But they know you as a salesperson, and you once told me you actually want to be known as a marketing person. But
Yeah. Interesting. Huh?
interesting, yeah? And I was on...
And you know why? You know why? Because I used to run these sales and build sales teams, and sales was I just loved the skill, and I always was fighting with marketing for leads. And when I started my own business, I suddenly realized that I forgot the most scalable thing out of all, which is the brand, which is the marketing, which is the storyline. So I don't think I'm a full marketeer. I think I'm really somewhere in the middle. I actually love if you would say you take everything away, Michael, and you just have to do what you like to do. And I see that everybody in his business or whatever you do, when things get difficult or you're tired, you revert to the base of who you are. And you know what my base is? I pick up the phone, I start mailing, I start hustling, but not in the sales hustle. I wanna help. I wanna like I'm talking to you and I'm like, you know what would be a great idea for your business? I like the creative aspect of the story. I like to tell the story. I would love to tell your story to someone else, and that makes me really happy. Like it's working. I figured it out, at least for a year, and then the story changes again, right?
Yeah,
You got to build a business somewhere,
yeah, indeed,
Bram.
indeed. It's the reason why we're here, right? You gave me the idea. You should start selling to people. You gave me the book. Nobody knows you. So
Yep. Yeah.
and the first idea was let's jump on a couple podcasts, and then I thought, like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it ourselves.
Yeah. Just do and see where it brings you. And I mean, for me, if I started with the YouTube show, I started doing the video thing, and I believe that doing a podcast is a bit more intimate. You have more room. So my first podcast with Peter Snauert, right, your first guest, he just took his time. He took an hour and a half, and I'm like this nervous. Oh, let's do it. And he was like, okay, Michael, I need you to relax. Then we can talk about really serious, deep stuff. And I'm like, no, I wanna. And finally, he got me right. He got me to the space where I thought,
Yeah.
now I have to tell the deeper self, right? So indeed, the book, by the way, I was raised by a very old father. So he was 58 when he made me, and he was the art director in a place called Leuven. So I was raised with a lot of books and with a lot of no music. My dad didn't like music because it would defocus him. Very weird. So a lot of books, and he did this very magical trick. He said to me, "Yeah, Ma, read. You don't need to read. You know what?" And he had all these books, and he said, when you get 18, you should read those 10 books. And he put them somewhere very high, hard to reach. And then he said to me, but you cannot read them before you're 18. And I was 15 and a half when he said that. So guess what happens, right? First thing when he turned his back, I was going. So I took the first one, which was the Ethica of Spinoza, which is honestly unreadable. It's like crazy. But I mean, I persisted, and he made sure that I read those 10 books without him knowing it. So yeah, he liked to do that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, if you tell a child not to do
It's
something,
pure manipulation, Bram. It's
yeah,
pure manipulation. I do the same with my kids, but I tell you, my kids just doesn't work that way.
yeah. I think if I think of Michael Humblet, I always think of Gary Vaynerchuk. I can't. I don't know why.
Yeah, I met him twice, and the guys from
Yeah.
Started, they wanted to do me a favor, and they said, "Well, come into this session, 10 people." And I'm sitting there, and it's the first time I met somebody like that up close, and I thought he's fake because he's a classic New Yorker, a
Yeah.
lot of noise, and something magical happened in those when we're sitting there. The man was real. They asked him really difficult questions, and he stood up. He did the same. He was. And he actually said to me, because I then asked him a question, yeah, like you, I'm thinking of, and he said, just stop thinking, just do. Just try, see where it brings you. Well, here we are.
That was your cue.
And I like his style. I like his style, but he's too. Yeah, he's a bit. I mean, I'm a very nervous person. It's very hard to find rest for me. So I need to stop, for instance, around 5, 6 o'clock because otherwise I sleep really badly because I just want to keep going. And I had to learn to pace it when you get a little bit older. I'm 45 now, and so you got to learn to pace it a bit better. But yeah, I don't know if it's a compliment
Yeah,
or
it
not.
is.
But anyway, I
I would
mean,
say it is.
the man did a big thing. He's
Yeah, yeah,
doing
I would
well,
say it
right?
is. The thing is, you think of Gary as a marketeer, and a byproduct is selling, and you think of Michael Humblet as a salesperson, and the byproduct is actually marketing.
And it's funny because he always says, what's it again? He always says this thing like, marketing. He's dealing in
Yeah,
attention.
trading
So I
attention.
made a slide where I tell that marketing is dealing in attention, but sales is dealing in
Yeah,
trust. So if I look to what I'm doing, I'm doing always this value and all this story. Actually, I'm dealing in trust. That's why I talk so much about faces. That's why I talk so much about when nobody knows you. How can you create trust like within the first 3 seconds, within being the salesperson? And it's a lot to do with social proofing, faces, giving value, the whole mechanic around how to do that. And honestly, be you.
hmm,
If you're very technical and you say, Michael, I'm not a sales guy, because please stay technical, right? Don't start doing. It doesn't
indeed.
work. It just doesn't work. When I started, I was a serious VP of sales, telling you how to forecast and do because I was living in that, and then I realized that only a very selected crowd would watch that. And then my wife said to me, Michael, you're like you like to mess around. I mean, look at the T-shirt. It says in English, it
Shut up.
says just shut up. I like these jokes. And she said, you got to do the jokes because that's you. So I really flipped. And when I do keynotes and presentations, there's a lot of jokes. And actually, here's a little secret. We're currently working on, with my agency, Chaomatic, where we build a lot of content. We're currently working on like two, three, how do you say that? You know, when you have these famous gurus, Tai
Yep.
Lopez, and they say, well, you can be like me if you do. So we're making like I don't know how you translate that, parodie.
Yeah,
We're making
parody.
like a
Yeah.
fake version of that. Really, really, one of the opening sentence is the following: We are going to give you the opportunity to give your money to me. Stuff like that, right? Really funny, over the top, but I have to put context around because if I just post it, people will think the man has gone insane,
Yeah,
right?
indeed. I'm looking forward to that one. I think.
Yeah, expect somewhere Q1 we're gonna do some with even like walking and smoke and yeah, we're just gonna over the top,
Nice.
over the top.
It
Yeah,
matches your
yeah.
brand, I would say. Awesome. But you you mentioned your wife. If I would ask your wife now, what does Michael do day in day out? What would she tell me?
It took her a very long time to explain to people what I did. So, tell you a funny story. I used to fly around a lot. So my last job when I was working for a company, I had 187 flights. So when you would ask my kids, they asked them, well, what does Michael do? And what does your dad do in school? He said he's a pilot. So I felt a bit bad. I thought, okay, so we switched that. We stopped. I really had really wanted to stop traveling, and only now, after 4 or 5 years, it's getting back to me that okay, yeah, it's time to get new impressions, see the world, run around, because you get very creative while waiting. So I learned myself I can do the best work when I'm sitting somewhere in a corner waiting for a plane or in a coffee shop or there's a lot of stuff going around me. I can get into this zone. By the way, in the past you could buy CDs. I think still on Spotify you can find like Starbucks noises. And as a joke, I sometimes put it on in the office, and it's really weird. Everybody like gets into this weird sense and they start working. Until I started putting on whale noises, and then they hated me and they kicked me out. Right?
Awesome. Will.
Yeah. Hang on, I didn't answer your
Yeah.
question. So, I think she would say Michael helps companies to grow.
Okay. And
I mean, I hope that's what she's
yeah,
saying.
that's what you taught her. Because that's like that's a pitch that I also use. But
Yeah, yeah, but sometimes it's like she says, she's like, when stuff goes bad, you have this auditor coming in. Yeah, he's one of those crisis managers, and she always says that people understand it if you explain it like that. Okay, yeah, well, it's
But
fine.
it doesn't explain
Yeah,
what you do day in, day out, right?
no, no, but it's.
It's
I mean, people
high
get so
level
confused.
pitch,
They
it's
see
fine.
videos, yeah, they see videos, they see me on stage, they see me all this stuff, and also don't forget, everybody posts, builds a picture of themselves
Mm.
online, which is a very clean representation of themselves. And the more time I spend on Instagram and helping companies fixing their image or scaling their image, I sometimes get really annoyed with it, where I'm saying, I mean, you're not saying anything. This statement is completely empty, or this is just stupid, or your English sucks horribly. Why do you? But yeah, I mean, you know what? People don't watch the details. I think overall, you shouldn't be afraid, and you should just, but also show the other side. So one of the things we have to be careful with Chaomatic and my brand is that we don't overdo the jokes, because you don't want to be known as the
Mm.
joker. So finding the fine balance between being serious and say, look, we make a lot of jokes because it's fun, but we can really deliver good value. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So when I get really, really at ease, if I'm on a stage and I feel like, sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes when I really feel it and I make it, I always start with a small joke. And if the room really reacts to the joke, like laughing, sometimes I end up doing almost stand-up comedy, because it's so much fun. And so I have people asking me, Michael, why don't you try it once? But I'll tell you another secret. What I find so impressive with Gary Vaynerchuk is that the man walks on stage without any slides. He talks for 40 minutes and you think, what the hell? It's just spot on. He doesn't lose the thread. He slogan. I mean, it's like really, really, really high level of skill. I still keep the slides because I like the visual. I like to play with the visual, but in a weird way, it gives me comfort. So in a weird way, I'm a bit insecure. Is not the right word, but it kind of structures. So I think the really brave thing I should do, and I think I should do it in 2022, is walk on a stage with no slides and tell a story for 30-35 minutes. I think that would be very brave from my side, and I don't know what's gonna happen. But the only way is to make sure you cannot escape, and you have to do it
Mhm.
that way. I'm pretty sure Peter Snauert will find a way of getting me in that spot. But it's an interesting challenge. So Peter, if you're listening, find me that stage and I'll do it.
But that's the thing. It's the focus comes to you as a person at that moment, right? And I think you have to really be able to handle with that situation yourself, because even if you're not insecure, if you sign up for talking 60 minutes, no slides, no nothing,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
pure, eh? It's very pure. Eh? It's. I think the worry for me would be that I would lose the line, the
Mhm.
storyline, or I would kind of skip parts. I would be afraid of forgetting, because in the heat of the moment you get nervous. I mean, you're always. I'm always still up to now. I'm always a bit nervous. For instance, even if we do shootings, and like yesterday, I was giving an hour and a half lesson, on a video. I sleep badly because I want to. It's not stress. It's more
Yeah.
adrenaline. You want to do it good. It's something very weird, and I learn to embrace it. And yeah, I get all the theories around it. But man, sometimes I think, "Fuck."
It
But
keeps. It is a drive that keeps giving at that moment.
yeah,
I think you.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
go
wouldn't.
on. The
No,
one,
go ahead. Go ahead.
go on. You
No, but
shut up. No. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
you do.
The one thing I learned also, and that's very important, I think, also for listeners, is that I stopped being afraid of asking questions to people I
Hmm.
don't know. Because I see how I react. I see now you will learn this with the podcast, because you sometimes gotta say, "Oh, I really wanted to talk to this guy." So even my heroes who wrote books, and what's the guy who wrote Sean Ellis, for instance, from I just pinged him on LinkedIn like a message. Hey, Sean, you and I are together in this book list, and I'm impressed with your book. But hey, you should read mine. Like really, like boom, and the guy, and we had a long conversation. So I learned to not be afraid. What's the worst thing that can happen? They will not say no. They will not
Yeah.
react. See, so the door, it's not like closing. It doesn't hurt. It's more like no reaction. It's very rare, except when you go to the Netherlands. There they tell you in your face, "Hey, dude, we're not gonna do business," which then is very confronting. But in a weird way, it's good because you can spend your time somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Very true. How did you get to that stage where you said like, is it just like someday you woke up and you thought, nah, I'm just gonna ask, and or did you?
I used to be very nervous when you had to do cold
Mhm.
calling. I would really, no, but actually, honestly, nobody likes to do it. So I was really, really nervous. And then you start, the phone rings, this person picks up, and you go like, because you want to get rid, yeah, right. So that's difficult, and the only way to do it is a lot. But while I was doing the show, my idea was to have fun and really ask questions that I had in my mind. So, for instance, I'm just saying somebody I never had. For instance, I would love to get some of these. I mean, you should have the same. I would really love to talk like the vice president of sales of Proximus or one of these large companies to ask, how on earth do you measure your people? How do you motivate them? And I'm genuinely interested in those questions, and yeah, you can't find them online, right? So just started asking people, and I figured out how easy it was. Most people said yes,
Mhm.
sure. The thing with you, for instance, now with the podcast is you got to do three, four, and then you can send them as an example.
Yep.
See? Because otherwise, people don't trust you. Say, yeah, yeah, sure, you could be competition, right?
Yep. Correct.
But be brave,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
My mother used to say, this is so funny. My mother is a nurse, and she was with my crazy dad, the artist, which was a very weird combination if I think about it. But anyway, and she always said, Michael, the world is for those who dare. But she never dared,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's me.
She never did. Every single time when I say, Mother, I started a company, I'm going to invest, I'm going to do this, she's like, you sure you want to do this? You really sure? You might want to wait.
Yeah.
See,
It's normal.
there is a difference between saying and
Yeah.
doing,
But a lot
right?
of people that
Yeah.
say it, they
And
don't do.
yeah, and I'm the opposite. I do, and maybe a bit too much on the same time. I like the effect of having multiple things going on the same time, but sometimes it makes me very tired
Mm.
also. But it's yeah,
How do you
it's in
manage that?
cycles. Yeah, for instance, I give you an example. So I have like three, four big ideas now around more event type of things. One of it actually I won't tell, but one of it is breaking a world record. One of it is having a really different type of YouTube show, but with a lot of funny things, like almost like a TV show, but also with competition in there for sales. And I have some really funky ideas, but all of them are pretty big events. We're doing a LinkedIn event for sales. So when this is live, it's already gonna be posted. So LinkedIn for sales event. So what I do is I always start with two slides. I need to visualize how would this look, what would it be. Then I ask my team, like a designer, I have a really nice designer. I'll ask her. I said, can you make a visual for me? And it's funny when I have the visual in my mind, it's almost done. So I work maybe opposite.
Yeah.
And a very luxurious position. I have a designer in house, but I mean, yeah, that would be. If you see it, you can imagine it. It
That's very
becomes
true.
real. And yeah, so it's the same in sales. If you go to somewhere and you're selling like a product or you don't underestimate the fiddle. I call it the fiddle factor. Like here, hold it. It's true, and they can fiddle around with it. People like that.
Yeah.
Now, when you're selling software, that is a problem. Especially when you're selling a SaaS, it is a problem. So the way to do it is to make your SaaS visible. So use screenshots, but for instance, put a little bit of shade behind it. So it's like they float on top of a slide and then they become tangible. See? It's a similar technique. But I mean, it's like Microsoft Office 365, a cloud solution. They're still having boxes on their website. It's insane. But people understand the box.
Yeah, that's true. But to circle back to my original question, so you have a lot of projects going on.
I'm not gonna escape. I'm not gonna escape here.
No, no. But how do you? Because in the last few episodes, for example, with Peter, we were talking about the pressure on the team, the pressure on the person, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the the society wants you to perform essentially. So you,
Yes.
if you only
Success.
people with one job with one thing, they often tend to like overdo themselves. Now you are running multiple projects at once. How do you make sure that you keep in that pace with like, You're not burning yourself. You make
Um,
sure you're under control.
no. So last year, first time I had like because I was doing so many things at the same time, I really felt like 2 days really down. Not depressed. I'm not that type of personality, but I was just really tired. And then I thought I need to change things because you can do many things at the same time, but at a certain stage, it's like running teams. Yeah, you can run seven, and you know the theory: 7 people, eight, nine, 10. Yeah, forget it. You're dying, right? So I probably can run five, six things in parallel, and then you start dying. So I really had to refocus. So I have to once per year go through this I'm very tired phase to go back and then to think, what do I like doing? Because what you like doing, you will keep up. The problem with only that is that, hobbyists are the worst. So it's so much passion that you sleep badly because of it, right? So you gotta find this between a bit more boring is not the right word, but like more structured approach and then a crazy wish project. And then I said, okay, you can pick three. What are the three that will either grow the business or will whatever? So I picked three. Of course, I added a fourth one in the meantime, but that's one. I stop on time. Sometimes I try to do a day nothing, which is almost impossible, but I think you need that because if you put it down, I go walk. I basically my system is I need to tire myself physically. I'll go walking 2 hours. The first 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, no, 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 try to check my phone. And then I get like, okay, I get in the zone. And then like an hour and a half, I think, I want to get home. I'm done with this, right? And then I'm still, shit, it's still
Yeah,
2 hours and a half walking. But for me, that works. I sleep well. It balances things out.
that's nice.
Is that an answer? Is that an
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
to
yeah,
your
yeah. It
question,
shows a
actually?
little bit like how does
And
Michael always everybody
yeah,
knows you as
in
like
other detail,
one block of motivation and
yeah,
energy, but
yeah.
walking calms them down.
Which they get really tired from at home also. But once 8:30 in the evening, I start getting calm. I want to sit in the sofa, just, and then I like to watch sometimes just like Netflix, just no talking,
Yeah.
watching brainless television. And then the problem starts because I started a year ago this agency. We do a lot of this design. Then I start seeing this beautiful imagery, and then I start taking pictures, sending to the team. I want this time,
And there we are again.
and off we go again. So I promised my wife not to send. She said, "You don't want to get messages in the evening because you'll start working again." So I have a golden rule to the team: unless somebody's dying or there is something really urgent, like really urgent, no more messaging after 7. Done. No more emails. No. I mean, and it's really true. I used to have bosses that would. I mean, what's gonna happen in the meantime,
Indeed.
right?
Even though the world collapses,
So
can't handle it anyway.
yeah, yeah, and when something really happens, trust me, they'll phone
Indeed.
you. Something really, they won't message you. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
indeed. Uh,
Also, typically for me, bad managers like, and I had some really good ones and had some really bad ones. Typically, bad would be like Friday evening. They would hunt their people, say, "Hey, don't forget this for Monday morning." It's complete idiocy. The people need their brain. So for me, you walk into the office at 9 or whatever online between 9 to Friday 7. Let's go, go, go. In the weekend, please don't do anything. And if they have to work too much, and sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes it happens. So they'll either work because they have a passion for something and they want to get it done, or there is some high pressure timeline, and then basically I always think I failed because I probably didn't explain the deadline properly
mhm.
enough. Yeah. To circle back to your question, I'm fundamentally extremely social. So meaning I'm chaotic, chaomatic, right? I'm also unstructured, highly, highly unstructured. So what I figured out last year is that if I compensate my unstructured with somebody is really structured, I create this very nice balance. So if you're a freelancer, for instance, what would work is if you outsource some pieces of the work to like Upwork and Fiverr, these type of tools. Don't underestimate the power of that. Okay, it will cost you some money, but you cannot do everything. Typically, here is one that comes to me every single time. Okay, Michael, I need to do a blog, or I need to make something to download. I need to do sales, and then they want to type text because everybody types text, right? So, and they spend ages on it. And I'm like, don't do that. Just record your own voice, send it on Upwork, get a text back that basically you can send to a designer, and it's gonna cost you literally $100 to get this done. You just need to read, correct a bit, and let it go. And that is a lifesaver. But even if I explain it and show it, they're like, yeah, Michael, but that's you. No, you can do this too. I mean, it's not difficult.
Yeah, but it's the
Yeah.
thing. It's what you said earlier. It's about saying things and doing things. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave me
Yeah.
the, how do you say that, the kick under the butt to start this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because nobody knows you. That's you got to find a way to make noise and good noise, right? I mean, good valuable content. So this is in the heart of what you do.
yeah. I remember that I intended to start doing this a couple of years ago, and I even had people on the lineup. And it was
Yeah.
last night actually in bed. I was laying awake and I was thinking, who could I
Yeah.
invite? And then
And
it dripped in, and then I didn't do it back
yeah.
then.
So here's two tips for you. Try to batch it, meaning just saying something. Friday afternoon is a good example. Most people are ready to talk because it's the weekend. So try and do 3, 4, so at least you're done. 2, the first episodes, the first 20, don't over perfect it. Don't spend way too much time on the edit and the logos. People won't, they'll excuse you actually because you started, right? Because the moment you hit good quality, and I see it with my videos, so we're filming now cinematic quality. I mean, Netflix, I bought these lenses that they use on Netflix, and I mean, I just like that stuff, but I mean, it's very expensive. But if I do something else now, people say, hey, Michael, what happened? Something wrong? So you have time to scale your production quality, so don't worry
Indeed.
too much.
How do you if we circle it back to sales, it's that's a lesson I think as well that you can apply to other things, because and you probably notice it as well. New people in sales or people in a new role, they have time, but that's the last thing on their mind. It's like,
You mean to build
no,
content, or
to
what exactly do you
actually,
mean?
if you start in sales, a lot of people like, I want it now, and I want to have every
Yeah,
skill in the book. I want it today, and they
yeah,
forget that they have time. It's also something that Gary Vaynerchuk often
yeah,
says: "You have
yeah,
time." Um,
yeah, yeah.
how would you? How do you tackle that? Like, if you come into you are in Started KBC as well, right? So you talk to
Yeah.
startups, and you talk to probably you have also other clients that have a new sales team. How do you make sure that you plant in that culture of like, hey, Rome isn't built in a
So,
day?
so a few things. Huh? So when I was I starting in sales, I wanted to be, I of course being very proud about myself. I not might have sounded very arrogant, but I was very proud, which is something
Yeah.
slightly different. I wanted to be manager, very quickly sales manager, account manager, and the money needed to come, and I was very, very driven in that. And then if I think back, I'm thinking, yeah, I actually, my original plan was when I started my first day, because I went with a friend to the seaside and we talked about it. So my first day of working in sales, I was hired and they asked, do you have experience in sales? And I said, yes. And they didn't ask, okay, do you speak French? Yes. Oh, this is a great interview, Michael. Really like that. Huh? So I'm like, yeah. So I start in sales and I'm thinking I bought a nice suit, which now thinking about it was way too big. Anyway, so I'm standing there and I'm thinking, I know nothing. So they give me a phone and said, well, start sales. You can start phoning, right? So I'm like, yeah. So first phone call I do is to my buddy, pretending he's a customer, right? So you kind of get
Yeah.
your way through. But yeah, if I think back, so hang on, so go back. So I wanted I thought when I was 30, I wanted to be a key account manager and drive, hang on, and drive a BMW 3 Series. That was my definition of success when I started my
Nice.
first day. Right? So things kind of evolved from there very quickly in all directions. I don't I didn't think I would be a good manager because I am a bit, I avoid confrontation. It sounds funny. Maybe why I'm so noisy and so alpha, because I want to avoid
Yeah.
the
You
confrontation
listen to
up
me, I'm gonna
front.
tell you what's up, and then nobody reacts.
Yeah, voila. So yeah, but that's one. Two, the second thing, what's extremely hard in sales, where nobody talks about, is so you start, right? So you're doing the phone calls, your emails, but basically you don't always know what to do. And you're watching all these systems and you're making a list and getting from the list and the stuff into motion of literally the cadence, like, okay, I gotta do 20 cold emails, I gotta do, you
Yeah,
know? That's extremely difficult. And because there is always an excuse to not do it. Oh, I need to do this email. Oh, I have an internal meeting. I need to make 2 slides. So I sit in these internal meetings sometimes and then I see the slides and then I go like, dude, did you spend 2 days on these slides? And you're like, yeah, well, I said, man, I could have made this in 5 minutes, so I don't want to see slides anymore, right? So I think the key is, and I think this is the best advice that you can give somebody is try and build your own little machine. If you, from a statistical point of view, can do your 20 cold emails, or you can do, it doesn't need to be email, it can be 20 LinkedIn outreaches, but at least you try to really reach people you do not know and you keep it up 20 a day, 20, I mean 50 a day, whatever you do, you will eventually win. You will get there and you will outsmart everybody because you will get tired of doing the same thing and you will get smarter. You will try to fix the stuff, right? You will figure out automation and all that, and you'll very quickly get really good. But people don't realize it. I didn't realize it. Now, if I get in trouble with the company or it's not going well enough, or whatever, I think I need more, then I will revert back to 3, 4 days of only outreach, multiple channels, just bam, bam, bam. That's when you see me posting on LinkedIn. If you fix the machine there, the messaging, all of that, you fix the messaging while you talk to the customer because if they don't buy, they don't react. You know you're saying something wrong, right?
very relatable.
And that's how the book started thinking because I knew if I talk to you and I don't know you and I don't know if your house is on fire, right? So I'm trying to sell. I don't know if it's on fire. I was thinking we need a different mechanism. We need to find a way, one, to talk to people that you don't know, that they find interesting. So typically it talks about
Of
them.
course.
That's how people are. Two, I need to go back. I need to find ways to go multiple times back. So that's how the whole content machine and the value and the mechanism started because I knew I had to go back 4 or 5 times. But no sales training teaches you that. All the sales training go, oh, the house is on fire, close,
Yeah.
close, close, sell me this pen, all that stuff. Sorry, but that's very, if you sell a very straightforward product, that works.
What do you think the world of sales will look like in like 5 years?
Well, I think something that a lot of people underestimate is personal
Hmm.
brands. And I've seen it because I was in the real estate business for a while. I mean, meaning
Okay.
helping
Okay.
software in the real estate business. I helped several software businesses, and they were scaling to the US and to Australia, and they were scaling in Europe. And at a certain stage, they pulled me into these meetings with guys in Australia. And in Australia, they actually do competition between the real estate salespeople, and it evolved in such a way that some of these persons, these sales guys, most time guys, they have like a media team. They pay 5 people to follow them to,
That's insane.
and I mean it's crazy. It's they become superstars. They even make their own TV shows. And I know it sounds like very yes, it's America or Australia and it's far away. But when I started posting about sales, I did it for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to experiment with, let's try if I can do this. This is really honest. And the second thing was, I was hoping somebody would pick it up and offer me a job.
Hmm.
I thought, what's the best solicitation is to be an expert. And of course, it happened after 5, 6 months. Somebody phoned me and said, I got many phone calls saying, don't you want to be head of global sales or chief revenue officer? But by that time, I was like, no, I don't, this is fun. I don't need any of this anymore. So I think personal brands is extremely important also for lead generation for companies. So I think there will be some mechanism. And if you really start thinking about personal brands, about your expertise, which doesn't always need to be about the
Hmm.
product the company is selling, that's the intriguing thing. it also goes with something that people haven't even realized, which is, I call it the growth of personal software tooling. Basically, 10 years ago, you would buy an iPhone, you would buy an iPad, and you would go to the company, and the devices you had at home were 10 times more powerful than the device you would get in the company. And the companies hated it. And they said, no, you can't do this. And security, and they started complaining, right? So we are currently getting to that stage, I think next year, where a lot of these really successful salespeople are bringing their own tools. Sales Navigator, DuckSoup, Phantom, but I mean, just talking LinkedIn, but there are many, Lusha to figure out the phone number and all of this stuff. And they're paying themselves. $50, €100, it doesn't matter. But companies are not ready to deal with it because they go GDPR, they'll fight you, they'll fight the personal brand, and they say, what if you go away?
Yeah.
And this is something I think next year will be the fight. They'll see it coming, the fight will come, and then they'll incorporate. But that means you're 2, 3
Yeah.
years further.
Yeah, you see it happening, huh? Employees with their expense card, and yeah, it's also one of the reasons why some products don't overprice themselves, because it like, I can have
Yeah,
this on an expense note instead of
yeah,
going through the
yeah,
decision making process.
yeah. And the more technology will evolve, helping you and
Mhm.
artificial intelligence to write text, and I mean, there's so much cool stuff out there. I think the more the human aspect of sales will start
Mm.
rising. The trust, the relationship will actually become way more important. And the other thing that artificial intelligence can't solve, which is something I was thinking of in the car yesterday, is I said, we have a lot of artificial intelligence, but some stuff they can't fix yet. And I thought about it and I was thinking, you know what? It's intent. Upfront predicting intent is extremely difficult. So I think that's the next challenge for AI in the next 2, 3 years. Now we're talking about technology, but also sales wise, intent is buying,
Mm.
right? What's this? Let me check it out. I need this now. So I'm very intrigued by, so I'm helping some of these artificial intelligence companies. I mean, you guys are actually looking into that as a company and as a software. So I think that's very interesting. I mean, what you guys are doing, I'm really, really intrigued to see how it will evolve.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, yeah. Good things are coming. That's for sure. But we're not going to
Yeah,
pitch anything of that. But talking about the personal brand, it's,
yeah,
I can imagine companies will get scared of it, that their people will have the
yes,
brand. I follow a couple people on LinkedIn and they have their brand and they don't talk about their product, but they're gathering that
no,
audience. But if they switch jobs, they or suddenly become a different expert, but then I think they would lose their credibility because, yeah,
yeah.
how come you certainly are an expert of something else? But how would you advise companies to deal with that? Like,
It's a very good question. So there are there are few very famous examples. So for instance, the marketeer of Drift,
yeah,
Drift.com, you know, the chatbot, which is I mean, these guys are really good in this contextual content, and I mean, they do a really really good job. Um, this guy built a personal brand. I mean, a really 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 big brand. And then at a certain stage, he left the company, and now he's like a consultant marketing. I mean, he
mm,
was writing books and all of that. On the other hand, the company benefited tremendously because of what this guy was doing, and they actually made a lot of money. So the question is always who's using who, right? So that's a difficult debate. Two, I give you another example. There was a company called MOZ. They talk a lot about, they have a very cool YouTube channel. They talk a lot about, by the way, beautiful format, guy standing in front of a whiteboard and it's full of text and he explains what is a really nice format. Um, Very special guy. Hair is a little bit. He has a. Yeah, he's an interesting person to look to, and he built a nice brand. He's the SEO expert, and he had a lot of YouTube views. And then, guess what happened? They get into an argument, and the guy says, "I leave the company." But who owns the
mm,
brand? So he owns his own face, right? You cannot sign that in a waiver. That's not going to happen, right? So he left. He started his own company, and he basically doing the same thing. But in the meantime, the company actually made a lot of money of the stuff what he was doing. So I think what you should do is you should not do the basic mistake of creating one hero or one god. No, you create multiple heroes. You spread the risk, but you help them because if you build their brand, they'll be grateful to you. Everybody will know where they come from, and in the meantime, you'll get the leads and the revenue and all of that. I think that would be a very healthy balance, but you have to spread it. And that's the risk that, I mean, typical technical companies, 25 people, and a small one, 25 people. There is one guy that likes to, or lady that likes to go on stage. Oh, we'll do everything with that person. That's why most of the time it's a founder, right? Typically, I mean, even look to Elon Musk, if I to give a really extreme example.
True.
But I would layer it. I call it. It's called layered content. It's also much more interesting to build your audience, to go
Yeah.
wider, to have more reach and
First thing I
impact.
think about is
So spread.
Lemlist, for example, how
Yeah.
they do it.
Yeah. Lemnis Guillaume is in my book also. So I had a chat with him. What he does very intriguing is he went to the team and he said, "Okay, who wants to scale their brand?" And only 5, 6 people said, "Yeah, I want to do this." Right? That's how it started. And then he asked them, "What's the type of content you want to make?" And now that's interesting. He wanted to do videos because he has this. Hey, I'm Guillaume.
He's on the podcast
Hey,
in the
Guillaume.
next episode, so
Yeah. Which and then he had a lady that wanted to do cartoons. I liked the idea, right? Never thought about that one. And so basically what he did was he said, okay, you get one day every 2, 3 months, and I will provide somebody that can help you build the content. So either it's recording video or, for instance, drawing cartoons or writing text, but always batched. So you prepare for the one day, then you have everything ready. You do 10 to 20, tuk, 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 and then you're done for the next 4 months. And then your mind needs to be busy with distributing. How do I reach my audience, right? I mean, Lemless is doing it. I mean, they scaled big time. They still scaling big time on that strategy. So if I would be a startup, which is funny because I help so many startups, and what I always find intriguing is if nobody knows you and you have no money, what do you do, right? Well, how do you? And then, oh yeah, you got to build a network. Yes. But how do you truly scale it? It's by doing that kind of stuff. Really efficient content, really telling from expertise. And sometimes people say, yeah, but Michael, I don't know what to talk about. I am young. Yesterday, somebody asked me the question. I really liked it. I'm 19 years old. I would love to build a brand, but I do not know what to talk about. So I said to them, you know what's very interesting is the journey to knowledge. Talk about not saying, I don't know what to do. No, don't do that. Saying, I'm on a journey. I want to get there. And you know what? I'm going to document how, I mean, I know Gary talks about documenting, but only documenting is not interesting for me because I see a lot of these document posts and I think they're very boring or they're like, yeah, sure, good for you, right? Hey. And then all their friends like it. And I'm like, it has no value. This is a picture of Bram, right? Or picture of Michael. Cool. Yeah. So what? Right? Teach me something. Inspire me. Do something. But don't do that. And so I would do that. I would tell the story how you try to figure it out, and I mean that's going to be interesting. But you know what? I never see. I very rarely see, and I don't get it. It's like I met this person. I'm impressed. Here is what I've learned. Bam, 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 bam. I can use. I sometimes explain it in my LinkedIn masterclass and say,
yeah,
just do
people don't
that.
do it.
And they
Yeah.
don't do it. I mean, and then I show them examples of what I mean. Look at this, 300 likes, or look at. Say what you learned or how you can apply, or what. I mean, that's going to be
Yeah.
very
I'm
interesting.
thinking about someone that I can't find the name, but there's someone that I have to think about that actually did that and really worked out well. But I think, yeah, if you think about Justin Khan, who founded Twitch, he documented everything, worked
Yeah,
out well, but that was, of course, the whole thing of the platform at the end of the day.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. It doesn't always, and I mean, imagine you're working in a company that sells office furniture, and you're a sales there. So what do you talk about, right? So I trained a very large company that, I mean, they're really good guys, really experienced guys. I was impressed. And then they asked me, but Michael, what do we talk about? I can't take pictures of furniture every single time, right? So yeah, that was a very interesting debate. I'm not going to say what I told them because you'll see them online, what they start doing, right? But that's interesting, right?
awesome. I'm curious to see that. Cool.
Yeah.
As a last question, I always ask this question to everyone. What would you put on a billboard and why, if I would give you room for a billboard?
Huh. Oh man, that gets me by surprise.
Everyone.
Yeah, I would really doubt between making publicity like nobody knows you, fix it today, read the book or something because I'm so proud about the book, right? I couldn't resist, or I probably would make this. I think like a joke. I don't know yet which one, but a joke that's like literally on the edge, where you think, what? Where somebody, when they would turn and it would be funny, but they would also think,
Cringy.
that's on the. I give you an example. I wouldn't put this on a billboard, but something I did with like a crazy idea, and I mean, I made a T-shirt that says, "I will make you come," and if I turn around, it says "back" on the back. But everybody's like, you can't do this, Michael. It's intriguing, huh? I don't have a dirty mind. You have, right?
Yeah, the moment you read it, yeah.
Yeah.
The back doesn't have an arrow on it or something.
I like arrows. Yeah, that might be one. You have these beautiful T-shirts like this. The guy next to me is an idiot with an arrow. I love that stuff, but yeah, you gotta be careful.
I remember when I was 15 or 16 years old, I went my first time to Pukkelpop, and we were walking around in
Yeah.
our topless, and we had those things on our backs, walking next to each other. But that was a whole different purpose.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's a very different purpose. Yeah.
well, anyway, cool. Michael, thanks a lot for your time and joining me on The Sound of Sales. I had a really good time. I think it was
Thank
very
you.
interesting. And as I said in the beginning, it's not all about sales. I just want to make
I
sure
agree.
people have something out of it.
And I still love the name Sound of Sales. Would be a really good song, like the
Yeah.
right? But find something like that. That would be really, really cool. You should make a Sound of Sales playlist on, like a playlist that a sales team can put on.
That's a nice outro. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's do that. I'll,
I'll
I'll, I'll
consult
suggest
you.
2
Yeah.
songs. Let's
Awesome.
do that.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Sound of Sales. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any guests or questions I should ask, please let me know. Thank you.